senior government officials, the international experts who have come here for this conference. A very warm welcome. Hope you enjoy your stay here. Our development partners, colleagues, friends, my own colleagues in UNICEF. It is a pleasure for me to be among you today and to participate in this important topic of the discussion that you will have on urbanization and resilience. It is an honor for all of us in UNICEF to be associated with this important undertaking. We all know, as we have heard, and I was glad that I got the tail end of the presentations, that we are living, even though there was some positive, and I've been to Nairobi and I've witnessed some of those positive changes, but we are living in an increasingly unequal world. We continue to have the old threats, the hunger, the poverty, the diseases, but sadly also combined with some of these new threats that we have seen. And often we see the world, particularly in urban areas, are more unsafe and more unequal for the urban, and that, as I said, for the children living in urban areas. It's surprising that in a highly globalized, interconnected world and very highly mobile population that we have, we still, and despite all the advances that we have made, we have not been able to reach everybody with the same level of, giving them the same level of opportunities that they have had. And this reminds me of last year, UN Secretary General, in his speech at the World Justice Day, said, and I quote, "We see far too many places where there are increasing opportunities, but for few, and only rising inequality for too many people." And this is true, as you all know, for Africa too. The economy of Africa is growing as the fastest, among the fastest growing economies actually around in the world. It is growing at an unprecedented level, and with 6%, even some countries up to 10%. But which is basically related mainly of the private capital inflow, foreign direct investment, remittances, which is actually now we are talking about 33 billion a year. And of course with that we see in terms of this access to social services, as we also saw that it's happening in the slums of Nairobi, is increasing. But among all those progress that we have seen, we also see that there is a growing level of poverty here at home in Africa, in this continent. And in fact, some estimate that by 2030, Africa will have most of the poor people living in this continent. And I think now is the time to start addressing this issue and come up with a plan to reverse the trend. And I am hoping, and I have no doubt, that the discussion you have, your deliberation here, will actually help in addressing towards those goals. Yes, inequality and disparity is a global problem. As we have seen, particularly in recent years, you see the millions of people on the move, the masses of people. Every day you open the news, people from Africa moving to Europe, people from South America moving up to the North America. And of course this is mainly the underlying causes of that is poverty. access to services, access to equal opportunities. It is a global problem, but it are the nations that they lose the human capitals they have. And I think in this country, all of you have seen how the country was it bled its human resources, the best of the human capital it had. It had gone to the neighboring and been far further away. With some estimate, we are talking about 75–80% of in the health sectors we have lost those people. But when we talk about people making the decision to move, is because very often they see for themselves, but more so for their children, they do not get the equal opportunities to grow to their full potentials. Now, some of those they move outside the country, but some also they move from rural area to urban area, and that I'll come to that a bit later. At the core of it is the families who would lose, but the children are, as we all know, are a lot more susceptible and they are more at risk and vulnerable to these disparities. And you have seen it. It's unfortunately, this is a growing problem that we see even here in Harare. If you compare last year or the year before last year to this year, you will see more children in the streets running from one corner, from one, what you call here, robot. With the other lights, they call it traffic lights. When they run from one traffic light to another traffic light to sell something. It's a growing problem over there. Now, this conference is coming at a very opportune time because with the partnership with the government and also the University of Zimbabwe Institute of Environmental Studies, they just concluded one study in the urban poverty. I'm sure there will be some discussion and presentation on that. This was in the suburban areas of Epworth and Highfield. But there is another bigger study underway which focuses on 8 urban areas. And we hope that that will be completed by the end of the year. These studies are helping us the same way we saw from the presentation from Nairobi to understand first of all, to give a face and to the poverty, and to understand better the multiple dimension of the urban poverty in Zimbabwe. And Honorable Deputy Minister, if I'm allowed, let me say very quickly what I mean by understanding of the different dimension of poverty. We saw, again, I keep referring to these presentations because we have all seen and we can associate ourselves with those graphs that are shown over there. First, we see that in urban areas, far too often, the national average or the data about one urban area, it totally masks those people who do not have access to services. So it's so important to be able to give that disaggregated data by different ward, by different localities. Honorable Minister, we are actually, I'm pleased to inform you that as part of this analysis of further analysis of the census data, we actually now have a solid information in the case of, for example, here in Harare, to have the data ward by ward. And therefore, that would give us a strong tool for planning and for targeting our program. What is very clear, we do have an opportunity here in Zimbabwe, I strongly believe, because you still have, you don't have a massive urbanization that most countries are facing. So if you have a right program in place right now, first of all, you would, if you enable people to stay where they are and make a productive life of their own, they actually have to contribute a lot more to the economy of the country, to their own well-being. But also if you plan right now, you will not, you prevent some of the challenges that some of the countries that they have had start of the slum area, say 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would prevent that. If you look at the trend of urbanization, you have two groups of people coming from rural area to urban area. One are those, the rich ones, who come in straight away, they go and they buy the best of places, they send their kids to the best of the schools, no problem with those. But you also have people who are already very vulnerable. They don't have anything. Out of sheer force, they come to the rural area. Already in the disadvantage. They come to the area, but they are also, they have no connection, they have no capital to start their life together. So all the more reason to pay more attention to that. The second, when you see, I'm sure all of you, if not all of you, most of you have seen the urban area, the slum, the poor areas, the poor people living in the slum areas. If you haven't seen it in yourself, I'm sure you have seen movies of it. What was that Indian movie, the Slumdog Millionaire? Exactly, you have seen that. And I've worked on some of those slum areas. Basically what you have over there, you have communities, you have hundreds of thousands of people living in these, what I call the islands of neglect. The water, it goes underneath them through the pipe water, they don't benefit from. Electricity cables goes over them, they don't benefit from. So they are literally they live in another world. And I was, again, you have slums that are 1 kilometer away from the president's palace. So they are there. But we sometimes also, we drive past them, we just don't see them. But these are the human capitals. So these are, it could be turned into an opportunity for the country if we have the data. And if that data could be used for planning, so we will turn it into an opportunities. And of course, the disadvantage most urban communities they have, because everything has got a cash. It's got a dollar sign next to it. They have to pay for the water, which in the rural area they didn't have to pay. They have to pay for electricity. They, for everything, they have to pay. They have to pay. So that's again, it put them into a more disadvantaged places. So I'm hoping that out of the discussions that we have today here, this would be a start of a dialogue on focus on urban poverty, but also it would give us an opportunity for collectively to learn from each other's experiences. There are some solid experiences in Africa itself, whether it's in Kenya, whether it's in SADC region, of some of the social policies that have has been very effective and has been able to turn the picture around. So here in Zimbabwe, Honorable Deputy Minister, as you know, the whole social policy framework that is being developed right now, with the program that is right now ongoing, targeting the most vulnerable group, labor-constrained families, with social cash transfers, that would enable them that at that critical moment of their life where they have a child, that the option is either not to go to school or with that limited amount of money to be able to send them to a school. You actually, you make a revolution within that house because you give them an opportunity to have their, to go to schools and turn the course around in their future. I'm not going to talk about resilience because that's the subject of your discussion, and I know it's a word that right now everybody is talking. But let me share my own views about resilience, because that's a debate that we have within the UNICEF also. And I see one of my colleagues sitting over there is laughing at me because just yesterday I had a debate with him. Whatever we do, whether it's in the health sector, whether it's in an education sector, whether it's a social protection sector, whether it's strengthening the community to take care of each other, as it was a part of our culture, it's been a strong part of the culture, to help the people when they go through the shocks, to be able to support each other, to bring it up. That would be a resiliency. And the resiliency, it starts at the household level, at the community level, and then into the rally. I want to once again thank you all for being with us here. I wish you luck, particularly the colleagues who have come from different countries. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. Make sure that you get out of the hotel, see the city, and if you get a chance, you also get out of Harare. And I look forward to the outcome of your deliberation, which I'm hoping that inform us as we prepare our next country program cycle. Thank you very much and all the very best.